to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you?
Unhinged. I am unhinged today.
I knew you were gonna say that, and it was still.
I know. I've said it to you like 7 times since we've been on in the past like 10 minutes. So like no surprise there. Yeah, it's been a weird day. Tomorrow's my birthday, which is thrilling. I love my birthday, but it's like my 4th day at the office and everything was like chaos. But it was really funny because like we all know, as in our group and the people that listen to us know what I came from. We know the chaos that I'm arriving from.
Correct.
So really nothing shocks me anymore or really throws me off my game. I'm just kind of chill.
Yeah.
Which is still true today, but that is not the same case for everyone in my office. So I'm doing billing. Very minor data entry, nothing crazy. But there's like a new system that we had to learn today collectively, like not just me because I'm new, but like as a team, this is a new thing being implemented.
Valid.
And everyone lost their minds. Like they were like on different pages about how things were going to go. And then like we're listening to each other. And at one point I unhinged, let me tell you. So I, first of all, didn't really eat today because Rachel had a lean cuisine in the fridge that she was like, I'm not going to eat that. I was like, I'll eat it fine. I'm not very hungry. It was terrible. Didn't eat it. I ate like 4 bites of the rice out of it. So that was my lunch. And I had 2 cups of coffee, which I'm not drinking that much coffee anymore. 2 cups of coffee. But like an hour into work today, I realized it was going to be one of those days where I was like, not for me. And if you see these headphones that I'm wearing now, they're very hidden. And I have a lot of hair. I just slipped in my little headphone and I just listened to a book all day. And unless someone addressed me directly, I just went on about my day. But it's also like a headphone, like you can tap it to pause and you tap it to start back again. So I just made it like seem like I was just leaning my head over if I had to like address anything. But I was like, this has made my day much better. Everyone else out of sorts all day. Everyone like couldn't.
Okay, but what
function together.
What book were you listening to?
Oh, I'm listening to a new Riley. It's new to me. Riley Sager book. The last time I lied. Riley Sager is my favorite author, and so like real thrilled. So on top of this, because I now have been in this like mental state all day. I got home, still have not really eaten, so I have some goldfish.
Perfect.
And I have a snack pack. These are the things that are going to help me get through. I have my water to stay hydrated.
Nice.
And last but certainly not least, I have my martini. So I am ready. And when I was getting all of this together, I forgot even what episode we were doing today until I sat down. So I was like, I planned well without really.
I mean, you need that martini. You do, in fact, need that martini for where we're at today.
So that's me today. A little unhinged, but making it through.
I actually have 4 drinks today.
Ooh.
Because I have my hot cocoa. And then I have the Sprite that I bought while I was at the craft store because I forgot that my kids are doing a project in class tomorrow and I needed stickers and shit for them to make. My Dr. Pepper that I had with dinner, and this bottle of wine that is never going to get finished. I'm going to be drinking the same shitty bottle of wine for the next 8 months of this podcast.
You should just chug that, like on the next episode when you're not leading it. You should just chug every time. Just take a shot of wine.
A shot. Well, honestly, based on the next spoiler alert for Thursday, based on the next Hannibal episode, I probably will need that entire bottle of wine to get through it.
Right. So we'll just take a shot every time something crazy happens, and then you'll be done with it by the end of the night.
It'll be great. It'll be great. I don't have to teach in the morning. It's fine.
Yeah, I have to do a lot of things tomorrow, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm probably only gonna have 1 martini since I didn't really eat, so I'll make it through.
I was curious what book you were reading because I finished Throne of Glass last night.
Ooh, what'd you think?
It's very hard to get into. Like the beginning is very slow and it's very clearly the first book that she ever wrote. And so if you read ACOTAR first, it is tricky to like.
I started Throne of Glass. I haven't finished the first one yet.
And it's from everyone I know, if you read Throne of Glass, the whole series first, it's fine. It's good. Yeah. But if you read ACOTAR first, it's the first book of Throne of Glass is hard to like get into because it is so much more YA, and it's and it is the first book she ever wrote. But I really, really liked it. But on Friday at school, I had to take the kids to the library to exchange their library books for their book for the next semester for their free read. And I just was looking around the library because at that point I was like 75% of the way through Throne of Glass, and I still had 8 weeks left on the hold on the Court of Silver Flames book. So I just happened to check the shelf in the library and found it in person.
Nice.
So I've now officially started A Court of Silver Flames, and on my audiobook journey, I am like halfway through A Court of Mist and Fury because I'm listening and reading different books at the same time. Because even though they're in the same series, and it is tricky when they're in the same series because the characters are in different places at the same time, but it's fine. Because
I want to set up my library.
I was listening to it today, and I realized there is really my favorite thing now is listening to a book after I've already read it. Because when I like get really invested and I get really intense when I'm reading the book, but then when I'm listening to it, I pick up on like allusions and like things that I didn't see the first time that only make sense because I already know the whole story.
Right.
Like there was something that happened in the book that it had a very Hades Persephone like twinge to it, and I was like, oh, I never would have like seen that if I hadn't known where this was ending up. So
I do like that.
So
I'm gonna decide where I'm gonna live on like Thursday.
Okay.
I'm gonna live here on Thursday, but I'm gonna decide on Thursday where I'm gonna live next. But if I decide on the apartment out here, I'm gonna go to the library next because I just need an in-person library.
Well, and that's what I said to Kate last night when I was texting her about finishing Throne of Glass. I finished Throne of Glass and I picked up Court of Silver Flame, and I said, oh my God, I miss books. The last 5 books I read were on audiobook or were on digital, Kindle. Like Kindle. And I loved it. I loved having it in my pocket whenever. I loved that I could just like read a couple pages while I was distracted and not doing anything, but I missed books.
Yeah. That's why I bought the Book of Powell's that I keep forgetting to put in my purse. But
yeah,
it'll happen soon enough for me.
So obviously, since I finished a 5th book in a month and a half this weekend, I clearly have also done nothing else with my life.
You should look up a Riley Sager book if you're looking for, like, if you're in between.
Well, I have to finish this book, and then there are 10 more books in the Sarah J. Maas.
I thought you were still like
universe.
Waiting though, like.
Well, no, because I got this one. That was I got it. This is the one I was waiting on, so I got it. But I have and then there are, like I said, 10 more books in the SJM universe. So
sure,
it'll be a minute. But when I finish those 10, when I finish those 10, I'll talk to you.
I think I'm alternating between Riley Sager and Freedom McFadden until I get caught up on their books right now.
Yeah, I also had my formal observation this past week.
Ooh, how fun!
My principal. It went really, really well.
Yay! That was no, it's your first one at the school, right?
Yes.
Nice.
And it's okay. My second one's already scheduled for January. He was like, "Let's get him done with," and I was like, "Oh, okay." That's great. So
excellent.
But yeah, so other than reading and panic preparing to have somebody watch me teach, I have really done nothing this week.
Yeah.
So can you give me some joy? Oh, I did finally watch this season of Grey's Anatomy, but that's
nice.
Well,
good.
Yeah. Actually, it's been pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell me all about it later.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think. I'm like, what else did I do this week? No, I watched 6 episodes.
Well, that's the only way I learned about Grey's Anatomy. Right, you just tell me the story now.
Yeah.
I don't watch it anymore.
Well, yeah, so it's season 21. Catherine, you know Catherine, right? Jackson's grandma or mom,
yeah.
Jackson's mom. Yeah. Jackson's mom has cancer. But like,
BT dubs, spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, no, she's had cancer for a while, but
I think she had cancer when I was still watching it.
Yes. But it's like back, like now spoilers. It's like back in Mad Furious now, and she hasn't told Richard. But then she passed out, and so Meredith found out, and so then Meredith is like treating her cancer, but also blackmailing her into giving everybody their jobs back that she fired because of Meredith's research. So that's great.
Love
and
that.
Jo is pregnant with twins.
I thought she left.
No, Alex left her.
Bro, I'm so behind. I'm like, we might have to have like a separate recap because I think I'm like 4 seasons behind.
But also the last episode, the like last Thursday's episode, ended with one of my favorite characters that I knew was leaving the show because the actress didn't like renew the contract full time for this season, getting into a really horrible car crash, and that's how the episode ends. And I'm like, if they kill her off,
you know they will. You know they're going to. That's how they've done every other character in the series.
But the other character that for sure is leaving this season because of contracts isn't dying. He took a job in a different state. And I was like, oh, are they both just gonna like go off and do their own thing?
No. Never. Shonda would never.
Speaking of Shonda, have you been hearing anything about that crazy fucking one writer for the show?
For Grey's?
That Grey's Anatomy writer scandal.
Yeah.
Wild.
It was actually one of my projects I worked on recently. That's why I heard about it. Bonkers, off the wall.
Off the wall. Since we're unhinged and Courtney's eating pudding for dinner, can you
goldfish
and give us some guidance to get through this day?
Absolutely.
Because it's not going to get better.
It's not going to get better from here. I am learning every day to allow the space between where I am and where I want to be inspire me and not terrify me. Tracee Ellis Ross.
First of all, love Tracee Ellis Ross. Second of all,
love Tracee Ellis Ross.
Love that quote. So
I'm trying to live my life every day not being terrified.
I've realized lately that I'm not actually terrified of anything anymore. That might not be a good thing because I also
could be disassociation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be. I realize.
Yeah, those are my options also. So I'm currently going terrified.
I was like, I'm so much happier. Like I'm really behind on everything, but like I'm feeling so much better about everything in my life. And then I like just had the realization that it's because I haven't done anything in weeks. Like nothing. Great.
Yeah.
Speaking of things we'd rather dissociate from, we're gonna talk about Stargate SG-1 Season 7
for the last time ever.
2.
This is the end. I'm here to announce it.
Homecoming. It was rated 8.3 stars. So far, highest of the season.
3.2. Punch everyone in the face. I am angsty about this. I've already texted Mary Kate. I'm angsty about this episode.
It premiered on Friday, June 13th, 2003. That might sound familiar because last week's also premiered on Friday, June 13th. They did a double header season opener. So the two-parters actually premiered as one episode when they originally premiered.
Well, I thought about it because Hannibal, the one I'm talking about, Thursday came out on June 11th. And I was like, is that the same day?
No,
that was my face.
But that means I have nothing to add about song, date, day, anything, because I didn't realize when I did last week's episode that this actually aired as a solid two-parter, not two different episodes. It was split in syndication, like after original. This also was why I was confused when Courtney texted me today to tell me that she hated Robert C. Cooper, because Robert C. Cooper did not do this episode.
He was like APR or something. I don't know. Well, he came up first on the screen.
Yes, he is he is one of the executive producers of the show in general, but he had nothing to do with the actual script of this episode in any way other than being an executive producer.
His name was the first one I saw, therefore he got all the blame. That's what that was.
Because this was directed by Martin Wood, written by Joseph Malozzi and Paul Mully, and edited by Eric Hill. So, like, core team. But I mean, here's the thing. Joe and Paul are the head writers, and then, like, Martin and Robert and Peter and Richard Dean Anderson are, like, the production, like, the executive production team. So, like, yeah. But, yeah. Our guest that we're going to talk about today is Kevin Oatsji. I genuinely wish to God I knew how to pronounce his name. It is Ohtsji. It is Japanese, but everything I know about how to pronounce Japanese doesn't work in that word because there aren't enough vowels for what I know of speaking Japanese. Mm-hmm. So I do not know how to pronounce his name. He's known for The Man in the High Castle, Altered Carbon, and The Babysitters Club. Like the new one.
Like the new one?
Yeah. He is a third generation Japanese Canadian. And he fell in love with acting in an 8th grade drama class that he was forced to take, and then was like, oh, kind of like this. But he also like does a lot of work with indie films and the film scene in Vancouver and stuff like that. He was one of the he was the head of the executive board of the Vancouver Asian Film Festival for a while. And weirdly, despite the fact that he's really not that old and he has a big like presence in the indie film scene, he doesn't have a big online presence. Like I really can't find a ton about him. But we love to see it. I feel like every Asian actor is currently known for is The Man in the High Castle.
Man in the High Castle. I was just about to ask. I have not watched the show, but I've heard about it for like 17 years because of Joe De La Fuente.
Yeah.
But
do you know the premise of that show?
No, not at all.
Okay, so the premise of that show is an alternate reality where we lost World War II. So the Japanese and German governments are in charge of the world, basically. So it is very, very heavily Asian actors because of the Japanese winning.
Have you watched it?
I have not watched it, but it's based on based on a Philip K. Dick novel, and he's a really, really great modern sci-fi writer.
Yeah.
And obviously Joel De La Fuente is in it. So like between the like sci-fi world and the actors that I know that have worked in it, I know a lot about it, but I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and watch it because I'm too busy watching 21 seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We start with the previously on. That is just clips of episode 1.
Yeah.
So, and we start with SG-1 returning to base, but actually it's just only Sam and Jack because Daniel and Jonas did not make it off of Anubis' ship.
Which we knew from.
Which we knew because that's how the last episode ended. Anubis is analyzing Jonas post-mind probe, and Jonas is still being very sassy. The two most important things that Anubis has stolen from Jonas's mind is that Daniel is somewhere on the ship.
Right.
And
it's a big one.
It's a big one. Bigger, though, he's discovered Kelowna in Jonas's mind and what Nequadria is capable of. And he is now at Jonas's home planet. And then we get the credits. When Jonas looked out the window and Anubis said, "Welcome home," is that the moment you knew this episode was going to ruin your life?
Yes. I'm trying to remember because he said it, but then also they said it at the end. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning. No, there was something.
Is it the scene with Jonas and Daniel?
Jonas and Daniel. Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I was like, there was a scene with Jonas and Daniel, and that's when I was like, this is the end of the world.
See, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I thought it was this episode, but I couldn't remember. But the episode is called Homecoming, and I couldn't remember if it was about Daniel coming home to them or if it was about Jonas going home. Like in my mind, from remembering the show from 20 years ago, I couldn't remember which homecoming it was until they looked out the window and said, "Welcome home," and I go, "Oh, Courtney's gonna."
So because you harped so much on like Daniel's homecoming last week, I was like, oh, this is just a follow-up of Daniel coming home. So my brain was not in Jonas' world until they had that conversation.
Because I did a really good job of playing dumb last week because it was
breaking my heart. Tearing myself
so the thing is, there's a lot of things about the show that I have to pretend I don't know
Right.
When we are talking.
Which you're very good at.
I'm very good at. This one, because I know how you feel about Jonas and because of how devastated you were when we lost Daniel, I was like, this is going to be the hardest thing in the entire world. And I was like, at least they don't drag it out for too long. So we're just going to.
No, I just dissociated. I feel like I look like the dumbest person watching this show. I swear to you guys, I'm not a dumb person.
No,
but
no.
Sometimes I go on because I went off on a tangent about, well, they would never make Jonas leave because this and that and the other. I fully analyzed this incorrectly for like years, probably it felt like. But
I mean, yeah. But also, nothing that you said like was super, like it didn't come from like
it did not make sense.
It did not,
it just
exactly
was wrong. All of it was wrong.
It was wrong. But also it's hard because they've had like they do this thing where they like act like every SG unit is only 4 people. But then they also do things where they have like, oh, I'm gonna call SG-15 and they bring 65 like people with them.
Yeah.
And so what, of course, how are you supposed to know that they can't possibly have a 5th person on the team?
How am I supposed to know that the writers of this show were like, here's a brand new character that we're setting up to be this 5th character. Oh, JK, we like Michael Shanks and we're going to completely reverse everything we've ever done for an entire season. How was I to know?
Yeah. To be fair, it was really not the best decision.
Good decision or not, it was not good production wise. It was just I have thoughts and feelings.
No, I mean, it is, all of this goes back to the fact that Michael Shanks was a little giant bitch baby and decided he didn't want to be on the show and then realized that he fucked up.
That's not a way to run a business. Terrible business. That's what I was trying to say. This is a terrible business move.
Yes. After the credits, Jack is still upset about you. Oh, Jack is still upset about you because no, but like then later when I'm talking about Teal'c and you and all of the stuff that happens, I was like, when did Jack have anything to do with you? No. When he gets back to base, he's telling Hammond about everything that went down, and he's still upset that you was like ended up not coming and that they don't have any idea where the gold fleet is. But then the gate activates and it's the council on Kelowna asking for help. And they're like, we'd already told you we're not going to help you with the war. And they're like, no. There's a ship here. This guy says his name is Anubis. And they were like, well, fuck.
Now we have to do something.
Yeah. We go to Teal'c, who has been detained on Lord Yu's ship. But the first prime, who I do not know his name, I did not ever write it down, and I do not care, but it is Kevin, the man whose name I can't say in real life either. He tells him that Yu is slipping. He's like forgetting things. He's spending all his free time in the sarcophagus, and he's like so old that he can't take a new host. And Teal'c's like, so you get that he's not a god? And he's like, no, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just that apparently gods can die.
I don't think that's how it works.
And Teal'c's like, okay, cool. So he's gonna die, and then all of you are gonna die, and then your legacy will have been what?
Or not.
So it basically gets him to like reconsider the plan. SG-1 heads to Kelowna to find out what's going on. They contact Daniel on the ship, who is lost in the ship, trying to find Jonas's cell. But he also doesn't know how to get through the force field when he gets it. And Daniel's like, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I also don't know what I'm doing. Like, monologues through this whole episode were pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. He's like, Jack is like, oh, so business as usual. He goes, is it?
Right.
What? This is what we do all the time?
It seems to be. We just do nonsense stuff all the time now. Who's to say?
Yeah. Teal'c and the First Prime meet and they decide that they're going to bypass you and just go to someone else for help and to lead this rebellion so that they can actually take out Anubis and like damn the consequences, because neither of them trust any of the other Goa'uld, but at the same time, it's either
he was literally the only one that like you can even almost
like right, but they're like, we don't trust anybody else, but also at the same time, if we do nothing, then you dies and Anubis doesn't. Like either way, we're fucked.
Right.
So they call Baal. Because of all the other system lords out there, Baal's for sure the one we trust the most, right?
Sure. Yeah, sure, Jen.
I
feel like he's like real far on the other end of the spectrum. Like, I would not have been my first call.
No. The biggest problem is that he's the only one we know the name right now.
Oh, sure.
Right.
No, I was watching. That makes sense. Because I was watching it and I was like, what? Why are we making this whole episode? I was like, why are we writing things the way we're writing them? I guess that does make sense at least.
Because if we didn't call Cliff Simon, we'd have to make up another system lord and pretend that we knew anything else about another system lord and write in a whole new villain that we don't need because we're about to we still have to deal with Anubis and also Baal. So like, why?
Right. Yeah. There's enough going on in the world.
Yeah.
We'll pretend like Osiris still doesn't exist.
Yeah. What the fuck did happen to Osiris? Is she dead?
Who's to say? Probably not. She's become an ancient as well.
Could you imagine?
That's my new theory.
Yeah. But and Baal is basically like, why should I trust that you're not just gonna like also like, well, I don't trust Teal'c. You're going behind your master's back. Like, what do I do? Why do I trust any of this? And Teal'c's like, okay, that's fine. We'll just not kill Anubis. It'll be great. And Baal's like, okay, fine. I do appreciate when like the logic actually logics though. Like
it does. This was just a weird episode to have all of this in.
Yes.
Like I understand we brought Anubis into the last episode, so then you have to follow through. I mean, not if you're Stargate, but they've decided to this time. And so it was just a lot to pack into one that felt unnecessary.
Didn't really think that it felt that unnecessary. I kind of thought of it more as like here is a new season and a new like, so let's just like
set of problems.
Well, here's all the major players that we have to remember for this season. So like basically it was like setting up that the 3 Goa'uld that matter this season are you, Baal, and Anubis.
I mean, and that makes sense. My problem is they introduced anything at all, minor or not, with getting rid of Jonas. That just felt like a really bold choice. Like that should have been a bigger part, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think that's my problem. So I'm just not going to be satisfied.
I think right now you're just really feeling the grief and the pain of losing Jonas, and so you're not thinking logically about the story elements of the.
That's probably true.
Yep.
yeah, that's probably true. I'll admit to that. Next week, maybe I'll be more rational, but not today.
Not today. So back on the planet, the commander tells Jack and Sam about Anubis's attack and says that like everything sucked and they were trying really hard, but eventually they gave in and gave their entire stockpile of Nequadria to Anubis. Sam finally, 10 minutes into the episode, works out that the only reason all of this is happening is because Anubis used his mind probe on Jonas. I don't know why that wasn't your first thought.
Right. Especially after knowing that like Nirti did a lot of stuff with his mind when she captured him. Why would you not think that now the next lord to capture him would be in his mind?
They also fully know how the mind probe works because Thor explained it to them.
Yeah.
Whatever. Ball agrees to take on the command of the combined global forces, which is all well and good. It does, in fact, set us up for the fact that he's probably going to be a problem later, but like for now, we're good.
Fine.
In the conversation with the Colonians, we discover that they did, in fact, go to war with the other two races on their planet, and they did, in fact, use the Nequadria bomb.
Who other races? Did we talk about that? Did they tell us?
The Andarans and the Tyre or somethings. We only ever talked about them on we've talked about them vaguely, but in the other Kelowna episodes, it's like it's basically like three countries that are at war with each other. They're not really different races, they're just different countries on the same planet. And they always wanted to use the Nequadria bomb, and basically
right.
SG-1 was like, we won't help you because, like, as the only other people in the history of the world who have dropped an atomic bomb, we're going to have to go ahead and say, probably not a good idea. But the other thing that was really interesting to me about this was the fact that, like, they didn't really feel that bad about it. And, like, it very much echoed how a lot of people talk about America and the atomic bomb, because they were like, no, like, it was awful. We've never seen anything like it. It was terrible and horrible, and it was the worst thing that has ever happened in history. But, like, also,
we do it again.
Right. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. This may be an end of episode question, so you can push it back if you need.
Okay.
But, like, is this the end of Kelowna for us? Like, did we just get Kelowna to get Jonas and then to give him back? Or will, like, this war come up again? Like, are we going to have to... Because, I mean, this feels like something that you theoretically would want to come up again with being the first ones to use the Nequadria bomb and kind of seeing the results.
Let me save my thoughts on that to the end. Because it's a complicated answer.
Got it. I'll write it down so I don't forget to ask you again.
Oh, so they dropped this bomb. They're having peace negotiations and conversations, but surprise, surprise, they still have not told them about the Stargate. And Sam's like, listen, we will help you defend your planet, but only if we are defending your entire planet and you tell the other two countries about the Stargate and about us being here.
I mean, to be fair, pot calling kettle. I mean, we didn't tell the rest of the world.
Hey, we did now. Until recently, but we did now. We have, in fact,
we did wait a lot longer though, because they just, like, Kelowna just found out about the Stargate. For sure. Like, they had that, like, inkling, but it didn't really get confirmed until the last time we were there.
Well, no, it's been since the first time we met Jonas, which was way before Daniel died. Because
but, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like that wasn't as long as America.
Oh no, it was like people. It was like mid-season 5.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. So, like, pot kettle black talk for sure. I mean, listen, same thing with them telling them not to use the Nequadria bomb. Like,
sure, yeah, we'd already used the bomb. We are not one to talk.
So Anubis's scientists have worked out that the Nequadria is very powerful, but it's not very stable. And Anubis is basically like, oh, well, make the ship powered again, and if it doesn't work, I'll kill you.
Because, I don't remember if we talked about this, ancients can't die, right?
No, so ancients don't really exist in our plane of existence.
Right, so they can't, like, die if this goes unstable and goes wrong.
They can't die in the way that we can die. I don't know that it's ever actually, like, determined what a lifespan for them is or what their beginning, middle, end is. But because they exist on a different plane of existence than we do, no, they can't die in the same traditional, like, explosion kills you. But
so of course he doesn't care.
And the problem is he's not fully ancient. He's weirdly... Like, he was dropped out of Ascension the way Daniel was. He's fallen the way Daniel is, but not back to being human. Like, it seems, based on the conversations we had about Daniel and about what Oma may or may not have done, it seems that Daniel became human again as a choice. It was like, I realized that what I was doing wasn't right. I need to handle things in a different way. I want to be human. Because we learned from the weird girl who got killed, who was in Antarctica, that you can decide to become human again. Anubis clearly did not decide to become human again.
Yeah.
He was forcibly ejected. So he's like half human, half ancient, but also his life force really comes more from the symbiote than it does from any human body. So what
so he's like got the symbiote, but then he's also got the power of like the ancients.
So like we don't know what destroying Anubis looks like.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Although blowing up his ship and having him like any body of his, whether he could survive the explosion or not, being sucked into hyperspace, like probably not going to survive that on any plane of existence.
Another question. Again, you can push it off. We are getting to Atlantis halfway through season 8. Is that right?
No, season 8 and Atlantis start at the same time. So we will get through to the introduction to Atlantis stories in this season of Stargate.
Right. So do we have crossover from Big Bads and from System Lords that we already know in Atlantis?
No.
Or is it like real new?
No, and there's a very big reason why that I can't explain to you yet. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just have a lot of questions.
No, you do have a lot of questions. No, there is a very big reason why we don't, but that is kind of
explained.
It's the whole premise of Atlantis, so I don't want to talk about it yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Totally fair.
Yeah. So but then Anubis also says that he's not going to kill Jonas because he wants to study Jonas's physiology, which we did already know beforehand. It's different than humans.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Do we know exactly what Jonas's situation is, like makeup is?
So basically what we have determined bits and pieces throughout the show and have now kind of confirmed 100% with like the Jaffa and with Jonas's people, all of the people who descend from humans but grew up on different planets with different technology and different things have evolved differently than humans. So baseline, it's still human, but it's like basically the idea of comparing like apes and humans and saying, well, baseline, they come from the same thing, but they've evolved. It's the idea of like, we didn't used to be monkeys and humans, similar ancestors, evolved differently. So Jonas evolved differently than the humans on Earth with a more superior, quote unquote, physiology in a way that would make it a better host for the Goa'uld, which is why they are so interested.
But that's all we really know is that it's a superior. We don't know like
specifics. We don't know specifics. We do know that his memory is wildly more
because of his reading skills and
his reading skills and his memory are wildly superior to ours. And physically he is superior. Like we saw him fight Teal'c and not get hurt. So we know that it's not just different, it is better. We don't really know what that means. And I don't really think we ever really will.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but then they would have had to actually like go deeply into like what that is, and that's so far from the main plot of the show that like it's not
it's just me that cares.
No, of course. No. It is interesting and it is fascinating. It's just one of those things where like there's so many more things that they haven't fully explained yet that like taking the time out to decide these are the actual genetic differences is like fan fiction at this point. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't.
Oh, maybe I'll write some fan fiction.
Do it. Daniel makes his way through the ship and he finds Jonas's cell and lets him know that he's trying to get him out. But that, he really doesn't know what he's doing.
Sure.
The Colonins Oh, that says bring. My B and R connected to each other in a way that looks like a cursive K, and I was like, the Colonan king? They don't have a king. The Colonans bring the other ambassadors to meet Sam and Jack and learn about the Stargate. At the same time, Teal'c comes back to talk to Sam and Jack. And he tells Jack that he has teamed up with Ball. And as the one person on the team who's had some very intimate experiences with Ball, Jack, none too thrilled about this situation.
Not a fan.
Then we go back to Jonas, who is... This is the scene, I think, that you were talking about.
Daniel.
With Daniel and Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm just looking at my notes because I'm gonna read you what I wrote about this scene. And then we're gonna talk about what actually happens in this scene. Because all I wrote was Jonas is really upset that he's responsible for bringing the Goa'uld right to his planet. That's all I wrote. This conversation was significantly more than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they, right, like this is the time that they had that conversation, right?
I think so. I did not write notes down. Spoiler alert.
No.
But I do believe it's not.
It's not. Okay, I found it later in my notes because I was like, that can't
surely you would have taken notes.
Surely I would have said something about their conversation. No, so Jonas is like, when I joined SG-1, all I wanted was to be able to find a way to protect my planet from the Goa'uld. That's why I really went out there. It wasn't to like have a cool job or like explore the world, and that's great, but I did it because I wanted to learn enough to protect my people. And now at the end of the day, my people are going to die solely because of me. So he's like real upset and introspective, which does inform the next conversation, but this isn't when that conversation happens.
Right. I think this is when I stopped being completely delusional that this was not the end for Jonas. So I started getting a little bit of an inkling, but I hadn't fully decided until the next conversation.
Yeah. Teal'c explains the situation to the people of the planet and is like, hey, listen, this is what we were going to do. We are going to tell the Goa'uld about your planet, but like, I promise they won't hurt you. Which is a terrible lies. I was like, we were learning about foreshadowing in one of my classes the other day. And I was like, guys, you know how like when you're watching a movie and the main character is like, nothing could ever get worse. What does that mean? They go, that something is going to get worse. I go, correct. Right. That's exactly what it means. Why would Ball not attack us? Because he promised he wouldn't. Ma'am.
We just watched Anubis promise he wouldn't blow up a planet that he then blew up. Like,
ma'am.
Yeah. It is too soon for you to forget how this works.
Not to put it twice in one episode, but sure, Jan.
Yeah.
Everybody's real delusional this episode. Then Anubis's men get the Naquadria stable, and he's like, cool, test it on that city.
I cannot.
Sam fills Daniel in as the Jaffa gets to Daniel's location. So like all of these things are happening. Sam's like, dude, guess what's going on? And he's like, I still can't figure out how to get Jonas out of his cell. So we're doing great up here too. Everything's going so well for everyone. Then Anubis's men start charging up the weapon and they're all ready. But then turns out because no one can get Naquadria stable, they overload their generators and blow up a part of the ship. Good news, that power overload fucked up the force field on Jonas's cell. So Jonas can get out of his cell. So like, it's all good.
Right. Yeah.
But then our good friend Herrick just immediately kills the scientist. And I do understand the notion of like the idea of a dictatorial government being like, you messed up, death. Like that feels very, very like Hitler.
Like that's not surprising.
Right? It's not. But also, this has always bothered me about these governments. Well, no, killing people in general. Just let's move on from the fact that in general that's not okay. But like, if your plan is world domination and you have the best scientists and they make a mistake and then you kill them, then you're left with the second best scientist. You're
starting over, basically.
It's not going to get better.
Right.
You, like, honestly, this is going to sound so cruel. Kill their friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't kill them.
Whereas, like, it doesn't make sense to kill them unless it's like a traitor situation, because then it's like, obviously you don't know what's going to happen. They're loose cannon. But if it's like they made a mistake, it's like, yeah, but so what if every other scientist you had here twice more?
Like, you want to hurt them and punish them for fucking up, kill their wife. Like, but you kill them.
Don't do that, world. That is not a recommendation that we are giving you, not signed off by Death and Aliens, but in like logic world.
But yeah, like, if in a world where emotions don't matter and we're talking pure logistics, you're not going to win if you kill them. Kill someone to hurt them. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Wow. The more I talked, the more I realized I am not a healthy person.
Yeah. We're not talking morally right now.
No.
We are talking logically only.
And
theoretically, this is not real life. We don't want to kill people.
Correct. I just thought it was being really funny that I can't tell you.
I cannot wait for this episode to be over.
Where was I? Okay. Jonas breaks out and he and Daniel head to the cargo ship to get out of Anubis' ship. Back on the ground, SG-1 gathers back up and prepares for battle. Everybody's getting their shit together on the ground. Sam figures out that Anubis must be looking for something because he has everything he needs. He just accidentally blew himself up with the Nequadria, which they could see the explosion from the ground.
Sure.
And he still hasn't left, which means there's something on the planet that he wants. So she's like, okay, like what? And there's too many Jaffa still on the ground. She's like, so what's going on? And so she figures out that there's something from the Museum of Gold artifacts that they must actually want. So she's like, can I have a list of everything that was in that museum?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear anything on my end?
No.
They just started a movie. It's da 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 da.
The Mission Impossible movies?
Yes, they just started Mission Impossible. I was like, and it got really loud and I heard it. And I was like, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but okay. I just want to make sure. Continue. I was like, I know the sound. Yeah, I could sing you the entire theme, but I couldn't remember what it was from.
Yeah. It's actually originally the theme song of the Mission Impossible TV show from the 60s.
I was gonna say the TV show, yeah.
Which we all know how
I did know that.
I love that show. I have never watched a single Mission Impossible movie because I hate Tom Cruise, but I love the show.
I've never watched any of them, but I know the theme song.
Jonas and Daniel still looking for a way out on the ship. We just get a really quick flash of them running through the building still. Then Jack brings in SG-11 and 15, and the commander's pissed. He was like, you brought me 8 men. I asked for backup, and you brought me 8 men. And he's like, yeah, but they're like 8 fine men.
8 really good men. Like,
really good
the best ones. The best ones that are left. Like...
I mean, in a lot of situations, 8 men sounds like more than enough. I guess in battle, it does not.
I guess if you're defending an entire planet, maybe not.
Yeah. Sam realizes that there was a crystal in the artifacts, and since the people of Kelowna had no idea anything really about the world, they don't know that the crystals are actually computer cores, or like, and not just decorations. So they don't know that this crystal is actually probably the instructions for stabilizing the Quadria. Then we have the scene that we have to talk about. Jonas and Daniel are still trying to get off the ship, and they have a conversation. And Jonas is like, hey, when we get out of this, and Daniel's like, don't worry, you can keep the office. It's fine. And he's like, but your job. And Daniel's like, right, of course, because you took my job, so I can't just like walk back into it.
So we can't just create a new position. Sure.
And Jonas is like, but maybe it should be your job, basically. He's like, I want to give you your job. I don't know what that means for me, but I think you should have your job now that you're back. And this is where Courtney threw herself off a cliff.
I give up all hope that I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. But of course, we know how he's feeling about Kelowna and what he's done to it. And so, like, there is a lot of guilt in this situation. And also, like, he has always felt like the odd man out. Jonas has never felt comfortable.
Which, like,
and
which
in
is
this,
fair.
And in this scene, he's like, I don't even really fit into the team. And Daniel's like, that's not true. Like, Jack thinks you're a really good man. And
Jack
which we
cool.
which means which we know Daniel doesn't have enough memory to make that up. Like, that must be something Jack genuinely said to him in the last 3 days. And Jonas is like, he likes. Like,
this is hard.
And this is why when you love someone, you communicate your feelings to them before they decide to quit your team because you've never once told them that you appreciate them.
Heard.
Yeah.
Then
they decide to ring off the ship because Jonas knows that he doesn't know where in the city it is, but when he was working as a scientist, they did discover a ring platform, so there must be a way to get to the planet. So, Sam gets to the warehouse, and she and Teal'c are looking for the crystal, and they find it, but then they immediately get cornered by all of Anubis's Jaffa, who are there. And it looks like things are not going to go very well until, boom, Daniel and Jonas ring in and take out all of the Jaffa.
Like the saviors they are.
Yeah. They come back to HQ only to find out that the commander has sold them out. And wants the crystal. And because at this point there really is nothing they can do, they give the crystal over. And Jonas gets all up in everybody's face. He is so mad because while they're dealing with this handover of the crystal, the commander and the 2 other ambassadors are still bickering about the planet. And Jonas is like, can't you fucking see that this is the problem? But the commander hands over the crystal to Herrick, who then immediately kills the commander because Herrick is fucking trigger happy today, apparently.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he's like, also, all of you are going to die now because publicly executed for your disloyalty. Jack stupidly...
Again, traitor situation.
Right.
A little more understandable.
Exactly. But Jack's like, does that have to be publicly?
That was I forgot about that. Like, I already forgot about that part. It was the funniest
But also, why? Like, quite a few of Jack... Like, usually when Jack has really funny lines, they fit. I did not understand the point of this little moment. I was like...
You know, there was so much that happened in this episode that had a lot of feeling behind it.
That you just needed
it was just one of those, like, comedic relief points that I was like, you know...
Yeah.
I have a lot of feelings, and I feel better by
That's
like a millimeter? I don't know how to measure the feelings.
Baal's fleet arrives and starts attacking Anubis' ship. Everything's being blown up. Boom, boom, boom. A battle begins on Earth, and everybody is also being blown up on Earth. But then Herrick tries to gate out. And sorry, as I'm writing, I don't know how to measure feelings down.
Yeah. I watched you write that down.
As I was writing it, though, my brain started singing seasons of love, because that's how you measure feelings, in daylights and sunsets and midnights and cups of coffee.
So it made me feel 2 cups of coffee better.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Baal finally destroys Anubis' ship and like pops up on the screen to be like, haha, I got you. But Anubis is not there. And then we see a little flying saucer escape pod leaving Anubis' ship.
Did we learn nothing with my God, the first one,
Apophis?
Did we learn nothing with Apophis? Like, seriously.
Death is never death.
No. And he died like 17 times before he actually died. So,
but then also Herrick does get away in the gate. So now Anubis and Herrick both gone.
Everyone's gone. Yeah. I mean, it's episode 2. Of course, everyone's gone.
Right. But then we go back to SGC, where we find out that Jonas is going to return to Kelowna as the Kelownan representative on the joint ruling committee to have all 3 planets equally rule, or all 3 countries equally rule the planet. And he's going to be in charge. So he's like president of his country, basically. And he has a really beautiful goodbye scene with everybody. And his moments with Teal'c and Jack are beautiful. But actually, I think the most important moment, despite the fact that they did it first because it has the least emotion behind it, is the one with him and Daniel. Because in that moment, Daniel, it says that as he's been going through all of this stuff, his memories are starting to come back, which is good. And then we have one last moment where it's basically Daniel's reintegration into the team, and he stares at the Stargate really like excited but melancholy, like just all of the emotions. But he asks Jack if they get paid to do this job.
That was so funny. Yeah.
Which one of my trivia things, the first thing in the trivia was like, Daniel asked Jack if they get paid. Yes, obviously they are. Like Jack and Sam are members of the United States military, and Teal'c and Daniel, as independent contractors with the United States military, would be able to negotiate like they get paid. That's fine. There's not cool. But yeah, and then it ends on a beautiful moment of Daniel being reunited with the Stargate, and it's over.
And we just erased season 6. It's fine.
No worries. Well,
not salty.
We talked a little bit about this last week about Daniel needing to be a different character than he was when he left. Otherwise, it would erase all of season 6, which they really, really didn't want to do. They also didn't want to get rid of Jonas. That was a really difficult decision. The dynamics of the show wouldn't work with 5 people.
That's fair.
So the dynamics of the show and probably the budget of the show aren't going to work with 5 lead actors. It just isn't. And they have... Well, and also we talked about the fact last week that Courtney is kind of crazy.
I have more than that on accident.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can finish your thought.
No, I was going to say they...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to... The rest of the thought that I was going to finish is that they intentionally did it this way as him going back to Kelowna to not write him out altogether. And he and the Kelownans do come back. Like, this is not the last time we see Jonas. I'm not going to go into how much or how often or whatever, but they wrote it in a way where he didn't have to be done. They just couldn't afford to keep him as part of the main cast.
Right. Which tracks, I guess.
What were you going to say?
So he for sure was part of Scientology.
Oh yeah, no, he
did find that later. Because we talked about we weren't sure who was like fully integrated in Scientology or if it was just some other weird stuff. No, for sure. I don't think he's with Scientology anymore.
No, he's not anymore. Yeah, he left the Church of Scientology when he thought they were crazy, but then like joined other cults instead.
But also apparently Christopher Judge came out and had a really bold statement about not having Courtney back because he was like, yeah, he's never coming back again. And I was like, that's what I saw before we watched last week.
So here's the thing. That comment from Christopher Judge is well after this. So
they said season 7. The one I saw said that they would never see him back after season 7. And I don't know, maybe he comes back in the season or never again. But like,
yeah. So, okay. So because of the whole, he's a little bit crazy and he's very deep into all kinds of weird political and religious cult stuff. that caused some tension between him and other castmates, and there were some public private online feuding things that happened.
Him and Michael Shanks tweeting.
Yeah, he and Michael Shanks do not get along. Michael Shanks is also very, very vocally and aggressively political, and they are on different sides of the aisle. I think they're both insane, to be 100% honest. Like,
I didn't actually read any of it, so I don't know. I just know.
I've
knocked down.
I read it. Michael Shanks is one of those people who keeps threatening to move to Europe forever because of American politics, and I just find that in general, all celebrities who say that piss me off to no end, because you have.
Did you see Ricky Gervais say this? That was the fun. I haven't watched it yet, but that was the funniest thing. He was like, I'm moving to Europe. I'm gonna get British citizenship. It's like, bro, like it was clearly a spoof.
Yes, but because Ricky Gervais thinks the celebrities who say that are insane too. But no, I'm just like, you are not part of a tax bracket that these policies that you are so upset about affect at all. So don't then continue to rub your money in our face by being able to just pick up and leave and go wherever you want. Like, fuck off. So I just, in general, find all political celebrities who are aggressive in any direction to be annoying.
Any direction, yeah.
Yeah. But those two are about as far apart directionally as you can be. And they don't like each other. But then with some of the things that happened with the Scientology and some crazy shit that he said and did, which was very scandalous at the time, Chris Judge was like, we will never have him back on the show because of personal reasons. That did not happen until later. It was after all of season 7 wrapped. It was not this moment. So when the writers wrote him out after this episode, it was not a permanent end.
It wasn't ready yet, yeah.
It wasn't a permanent end, and he does come back.
It didn't feel like it, like I would not have guessed he left in episode 2 based on the like information I had seen, but I did think he was going to leave after this season.
Yeah. So some things went down behind the scenes during season 7 that caused some stuff. So when we do our season 7 wrap up, we can get a little bit more into what that feuding was. But yeah, no, it wasn't. It was much later that they all came out and were like, fuck that guy. He also it was so bad that only within the last year or so has he started doing cons again and using like Jonas as one of his credits in cons. Like, that's how bad this feuding was. Yeah, so in 20 weeks we will talk more about that.
Can't wait. I will remember this conversation until then.
But yes, so to answer your earlier question, no, Jonas and the Clonins are not just gone. That's not something that they are fully connected. Like, we really only know or care about Kelowna because of its relationship with Jonas, and it will only ever come back in the context of Jonas coming back. But that there is still more to come with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, do you have any other thoughts?
Did you have any more trivia?
Unfortunately, no. I really did not have any other trivia. The trivia was just about the way that they wrote Jonas out and about the fact that the military does pay its members.
Gotcha. Sure, yeah. Thoughts, feelings, predictions. God, I don't even know where to begin. I feel like we've just done a major reset this episode. So obviously, we'll have Anubis Ball and you. Obviously they're gonna be a part of this season. Right. I think Daniel will get his memories back sooner rather than later. I don't think that's gonna be drawn out very long. Otherwise, I don't know, we're resetting. We're resetting, so I don't really know what's next.
I don't know. No, I do know. I was like, I don't know either. I mean, if you listen to our season 6, was it our season 6 wrap up, or was it last episode where I said it was the season 6 wrap up. I was like, season 7 has some of the heaviest hitter episodes in the show. But next week's episode, I'm trying to remember how important this episode is.
Oh, good. Oh, that face tells me everything I need to know.
Next week's episode is a good one. It is a good one. Yeah. The title is Fragile. The title is Fragile Balance, which tells you absolutely nothing about the episode in terms of anything that you could figure out.
Okay.
But it's a good one. It's one of the ones that gets talked about a lot on Reddit. Like,
ooh, okay.
So, yeah, I'm very excited.
We having Doug back? I don't remember, when did he say he was coming back again?
Who?
Doug.
Oh,
didn't he have an episode he wanted to come back for?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen Doug in like 2-3 weeks. How long ago did we fully move out of the apartment? I don't know. It's been
I truly don't know. I truly don't know. Time doesn't make sense.
Yeah, now that Doug and Dan don't live together, I don't see Doug anymore.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
It is really sad, and I miss him, but like we're both just so busy.
Sure.
So busy. So
another day.
Another day. One day. One day I will see him again.
At least for your wedding.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dan's bachelor party is on Saturday, so
ooh,
sure that'll be real interesting.
Wild.
Yeah.
Dan screams having a wild bachelor party. Anyways.
Yeah, that Doug and David planned.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be
bonkers.
Crazy. Who do you want to punch?
Oh my God, everyone that's ever existed or been a part of the Stargate universe. No. God. I really do want to punch a lot of people, but I think I'm gonna go with Ball. I just like I can't with him.
I am gonna go
probably not the most, but he is the one I'm picking.
I'm gonna go with Commander Doucheface, who sold out the Colonins because he couldn't get his shit together. Sure. Yeah, who is your MVP?
No one. I don't know. I guess Daniel. I don't know. I'm mad at everyone. It's a hard time for me.
My MVP is Jonas.
Sure. Yeah, that's the correct answer.
But you just couldn't bring yourself to
I just can't today.
Yeah. No, I mean
he's doing all the right things.
He's doing all the right things. He's going through the emotional journey. He's like realizing that the whole reason he did this was to save his people anyway, and now he has the means to do that. And so like he's going back to his people, and like his character really has come full circle. And like as hard as it is for us to leave and for us to like not want him, everything that he set out to do when he joined the show, he did. And
he did.
And now he's going back. Like, and it really sucks because we love Jonas, but it's not like Teal'c where there was never going to be an option for him to go back. Like the option for him to go back was always there. He just like they needed to come to terms with what he did, and he needed to come to terms with what they did, and they did. So like,
yeah, it totally makes sense, and it puts you in the same issue that we had with Daniel. If you had kept him too long after he served his purpose, like it could come up into that same issue we had with Daniel before we had to like redo his character.
Like season 5 Daniel. We don't want don't want Jonas to turn it into season 5 Daniel.
Yeah. So like it makes sense to an extent. I'm just not ready to accept it yet.
That's fair. Well, with that, if you have any thoughts, feelings, concerns, if you know any secret behind the scenes things about the feud between Courtney and the rest of the Stargate cast, please email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CECloud13.
And with that, we will see you on Thursday for Thriller Thursday. Bye.